Hi, this is Dr. Stephen Katz, owner of the alternative medical clinic based in Scottsdale, Arizona called Naturopathic Physicians Group. I co-host the show, Your Health is Wealth. I hope you enjoy this informative natural medicine podcast and listen weekly for the newest installment. You can learn more about us at naturopathicgroup.com.
Today, you'll learn about how to bank wisdom for a richer, fuller life. Your hosts, Dr. Stephen Katz, an award-winning naturopathic physician and former president of the Arizona Naturopathic Medical Association.
Good afternoon. This is Your Health is Wealth. We're here to provide practical solutions to your health issues that allows your body's healing systems to do the work for you. It's simple, it's natural, and it works. If you're still struggling with your health, come see us at Naturopathic Physicians Group to help get your life back. Every week we do a different topic, and this week's kind of a little different. We're not going to do a condition or a disease today. I'm actually going to do it a little different this week, and it's going to be on different habits that we have and how it affects pain. I've done this talk before in front of groups, and it's a really good one I thought I could bring to the show today. So we start every episode on what is a naturopathic doctor. Well, naturopathic doctors, they provide primary care, but they also can provide specialty care. We look at the body as a whole. We like to look for the root cause of your problems, the root cause that's causing your symptoms, not just treat your symptoms. We treat that cause because when you can treat the cause, the chronic illness, you just get better and you can live a long, healthy life. Doctor as teacher is one of the principles of naturopathic medicine. We like to teach our patients not just how to get better, but how to stay better. We care about prevention as the best form of cure and how important quality of life is. Without quality, you've got nothing. So again, this week we're talking about habits and how it affects pain. So for starters, I'd like to start this off by doing kind of a quote. It's a cliche that we want to be the best that we can be, but we rarely ever take action in our health. Sometimes the first step is actually getting your head above water. So what that means is if you're sick, if you need to lose 100 pounds, we have goals we set for ourselves, and these goals are very important. What happens is the second we hit a plateau or we hit a roadblock, we get discouraged and we don't want, and we stop a lot of times instead of trying to push through that plateau or push through that roadblock. So what happens is in order to get healthy, it's a step-by-step approach. I think I've said this analogy on the radio before, but think of chronic illness as you're on step 10 of a flight of stairs. If you take drugs or you do the quick try to fix it, it doesn't actually fix it. That's like jumping off a flight of stairs. You're not going to be able to jump a flight of stairs and not have problems. And that's what the side effects are. What you need to do to get healthy is take it one step at a time. And in order to do that, you have to find the cause. But when you take it one step at a time, you're going to have those roadblocks sometimes where it's hard to take that next step. So what ends up happening with chronic illness is you will keep pushing and pushing, and then one day it's like, wow, you just start feeling better. And that's when you get your head above water, and then you can start really pressing towards the wellness, your goals. So I love the quote, even if you fall on your face, you're still moving forward. So again, that is in the nutshell. As you fall on your face, you hit those plateaus, you've got to keep pushing forward. If you can do that, you're going to get that wellness that you're so desperately looking for. So America's health system, it's a disaster. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I mean, we've all lived through the last 3 years and we can see how much of a disaster that was. But in general, our healthcare system itself is a diseased modeled care. All we care about in the healthcare industry, naturopathic doctors are far better at caring about important things. But in the conventional world of medicine, they care about symptoms only, which means you get a drug for this, you get a pill for this, you feel better short term, but it's fake because you're not actually treating that problem. So you get side effects from it, they get worse and worse, and you just feel worse and worse, and hey, there's another pill for that side effect. That's a bad road. It's basically digging yourself deeper and deeper as you go forward. So just to let you know from a standpoint of health that I'm not making this up. From the Medicare guide itself, care that seeks to prevent disease, promote health, and prolong and enhance the quality of life is not considered medically necessary. It's right in the Medicare handbook. They're telling you right there that we don't care about prevention, we don't care about promoting health, and we certainly don't care about prolonging and enhancing the quality of life. And that's the insurance we are paying for every single paycheck and hoping and excited to get when we turn 65. Care that actually tells you we really don't care about prevention or health or prolonging your health. It's kind of scary. And again, that's right in the handbook. So when you're thinking about trying to do health, what does your health insurance cover? It covers prescriptions. It covers surgery. It covers zero prevention. And that is, to me, sad. It's sick care. So if you're constantly revolving around a sick care system, why would you ever think you're going to get health? It's interesting. But health insurance doesn't cover wellness, or some of them are starting to turn around and get a little better. They should cover gyms. They should cover health food. They should give you bonuses if you meet your health goals, but they never do. And it's very hard if you're in this model where here's your drug, here's your pill, here's your steroid, which is pretty much what they do anytime anybody has inflammation. Here's another steroid, and the whole time it's weakening your immune system. You have to understand, if you really want to get healthy, you have to be able to take charge of your health and not just fall into here's a pill, here's a pill, here's a pill. A quote from the World Health Organization: 90% of all diseases prevalent today are not treatable with orthodox medical procedures. 90% are not treatable with orthodox medical procedures. 90. That is a very, very, very high percentage. So what percent is treatable? Well, the 10%, this is crisis management care. This is emergencies. This is surgeries. If you get into a bad car accident and you need an emergency surgery, the last person you want to see is a naturopathic doctor. That's where hospitals come in. That's where surgeries come in. Stuff is amazing what they can do, but that's always based on the technology we have. When it comes to chronic care in this country, we're better at creating chronic care than we are at fixing it. It's really interesting to realize how many chronic diseases we create because of the diet we eat, because of the drugs we take. And again, I never tell anybody not to take the drugs you're prescribed. It's just you need all the information on why you're doing it. And if you learn the prevention side of it, oftentimes you can get off those meds and live a long, quality, healthy life. And today we are talking about habits we have and how it affects pain. I was talking about, some insurance and diseases and how our American health crisis is real, and so many ways we treat things are just not effective for true health. So one of the things I love to tell patients, and one of the things I love to talk about, is wrong and lacking information. So what that means, now think about it from a food standpoint. When we're talking about health foods, most grocery stores will have an aisle or two they call their health section. And when you go down those aisles, it's not healthy. It's got crackers and cookies and sugary drinks and all of these different things that I would look at and say, that's not a health food, but yet they put this in the health food section. They do this at all the grocery stores. And then you also go to the fruit and vegetable section, and there's usually not a lot of signs on there that say healthy, because it's not the health food section, or at least not what they think the health food section is in the grocery store. So why do they put unhealthy foods in the health food section? Because of the information that people shop based on. One of those is the term organic. So what does organic mean? If you think about it, it's supposed to mean no chemicals, but even a lot of the organic foods still have chemicals on them. They're just not as many chemicals, or they might be a more natural sourced chemical, but they still are not 100% clean. Now, organic is better than not organic because less chemicals is still better than more chemicals. But just because it's a cracker or a chip or a cookie labeled organic does not make that a health food. If sugar is inflammatory, if cookies are bad for you, I mean, just because it says organic does not make this a healthy food. But people will shop the grocery store. I will have patients come in all the time and say, I eat pretty much 100% organic. And then we ask them, okay, so what do you eat? Well, for dessert, I have this organic pie. Or, oh, I buy the best organic ground beef out there, which doesn't mean that's unhealthy. But what do they put on top of it? Well, they put organic cheese. They put organic ketchup, which is still garbage. I mean, it's still full of sugar. Just because it's organic does not make it healthy. So it's really about what you're eating versus just the term organic. Organic does not mean healthy, but yet we shop based on that term meaning healthy. Same thing with another favorite term of patients of mine, gluten-free. There are so many unhealthy gluten-free products out there. It's unbelievable. I would say majority of the gluten-free products out there are probably unhealthy foods. But what does gluten-free mean? Does it mean egg-free? No. Does it mean dairy-free? No. Does it mean sugar-free or naturally sugared? No. It just means no gluten. So they put every chemical known to man in there to try and make the food taste better, because gluten breaks down in our body into sugar. So when you take the gluten out, they add more sugar into those products to make it taste better. Again, so when we're buying 100% gluten-free products, some of it is good, but a lot of it is still processed junk food. And so you have to understand the full dichotomy of what you're eating. Just because something's labeled gluten-free or organic does not make it healthy. And another one of my favorite is natural flavors. Yummy natural flavors. A lot of them are made some really, really gross sources. I always tell people, why would they use the term natural flavor? First of all, most of them are made from a natural source, but it's still a chemical. But why do they use the term natural flavor? If it was made from a blueberry, they would say blueberry. If it was a strawberry, they'd say strawberry. Why are they hiding behind a term that's natural flavor? Because they don't want you to know what it is. And you see this in everything, natural flavor. Organic food, gluten-free food, naturally flavored. Organic candy, we love that stuff, right? But here's a great one is natural flavor. The term castoreum, castoreum, castoreum. It's a natural flavor. It's found in foods that are strawberry flavored and vanilla flavored. So if you've ever thought about having something that's strawberry tasting or vanilla tasting, you've possibly had some castoreum in your diet. So what is it? Well, it comes from the castor sacs, which is inside the rectum of the mature North American beaver. So basically, it's beaver butt. So beavers, what is this? So beavers take castoreum from the castor sac, they mix it with urine to mark and scent their territory. So now think about that. For starters, why was this discovered? Well, beaver trappers would smell a floral, fruity scent on the tree that the beaver marked. So that's how they got the scent, and it was originally put in the perfume industry. Lo and behold, it ultimately became a part of the food industry. So think about it. Beaver butt, the castor sac is in there. They made a natural flavor out of it. It's natural. I mean, you can't get more natural than that. But I'd hate to be the person that was on that taste test. But I was definitely not. So again, when you get wrong and lacking information, you have to understand that there is so much bad and misleading information. If you're going to eat healthy, you've got to take care of reading the ingredients, whole healthy ingredients, and understand that real food does not have names you don't understand. Real food does not hide behind natural flavors. Real food is very easy to spot. And unfortunately, 90% of the grocery stores are missing most of that stuff. So, what also are habits we have that affect our pain? Well, stress. So I can't see anybody's hand, but I always ask people, raise your hand if you have stress. And I assume every single person is probably raising their hand. And if you're driving, please don't raise your hand. Keep your hands on the wheel. But stress is we've all heard the term stress. It's a killer. Well, it is, because stress creates inflammation. The more inflammation, the more pain. And it can cause any problem in our body throughout our entire body. So, what are the three main kinds of stress out there? You've got physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress. All three of these can cause the same symptoms. So when you think of physical stress, I always think of the Three Stooges. When you're seeing Moe, Larry, and Curly, they're smacking each other. They're using grinders on they're beating each other up. Well, physical trauma is the number one way that we have stress. And a lot of times it's self-inflicted wounds. If you go to the gym and you put too much weight and you end up throwing your back out, or if you run more than you've trained your body to do. What about playing football, playing sports? Of course, I'm not telling you not to do the sports. The sports are amazing, but you're putting physical stress on your body. So if you don't give your body time to recover, it will create inflammation in our body. But there's also a lot of physical stress that affects us that we can't control. These are, if you were in an abusive relationship, that's something you can't always control. Car accidents, the trauma from stuff like that, that's physical stress. Our bodies, you can't always control stuff like that. But as I've said almost every week on the show, you always want to learn to control what you can control, because when you can control what you can control, you can take down the amount of inflammation in your body exponentially. But again, that doesn't mean don't go play your sports. That doesn't mean you can avoid car accidents. It's just saying that you have to give your body time to recover. And if you try to jump right back into everything, you're going to put more and more stress on your body. Now, our stress hormone is called cortisol. Too much cortisol can lead to weight gain. It leads to inflammation. It's very, very inflammatory. It also leads to anxiety. It leads to difficulty sleeping. People that wake up in the middle of the night and then they can't get back to sleep because their mind is overactive. Too much cortisol can do stuff like that. Not enough cortisol also causes stress on our body because it makes it where you can't even handle the stress that's in front of you. So every task becomes a big task. Everything provides stress. Even leaving your house can become a stressful situation. This is very common for people that have children, where just getting out of the house, and this is definitely a case in our house with 2 young kids. Leaving the house used to be no kids. We're in and out. We can leave anytime we want. Now, it's a hell of an ordeal that takes sometimes minutes, and then every single time we leave the house, we then forget, did we close the garage? Did we let the dogs back in? We end up having to turn around 2 blocks down the road because we're now stressed out about it, even though when you don't think about it, you know you do it every time. But the second somebody puts it in your head, you start second guessing yourself. And those types of stressors add up. And then the more stress you're under, the more problems you end up having. Other stressors that are very, very common are that we can control oftentimes, but it's not always easy. Chemical stressors. These are, what do we put in our body? These are, what do we put on our body? These are every bit as much of a problem in our day-to-day life. One of the biggest ones people do is alcohol. I know we beat up on alcohol pretty regularly on here, but it's because it's really inflammatory and we can't help it. The more inflammation, again, the more likely you're going to have chronic illness. People use alcohol for stress relief, but it's a short term, and the more you drink, the less that alcohol helps with your stress relief. So if you keep drinking, you actually create more stress in your body, create more inflammation in your body, as well as you deplete all those nutrients we've talked about over and over again in the past. So again, that's a chemical stressor that we do on a regular basis. that creates lots of problems. We talked about physical stress, and we started talking about chemical stress as the second one when we talked about how alcohol affects our bodies. Well, another one we've talked about before is the artificial sweeteners. We know sugar's bad, it's highly inflammatory, but in this country, every time we're at a restaurant, almost every restaurant has a bunch of artificial sweeteners just sitting right in front of you. So if you order your coffee, your iced tea, any of that stuff, you just open up your Sweet and Low, your Equal, or your Splenda, and you just pour this stuff in your body, and you have no idea if that stuff's affecting you negatively. Or you do know, but you know it's not sugar, so you choose to ignore the health risk for it. But these artificial sweeteners are a chemical. They're very, very inflammatory in our bodies. The Sweet and Low, aspartame, saccharin, Equal, NutraSweet is aspartame, and Splenda is sucralose. These are the three most common ones out there. Those artificial sweeteners, they're linked to a boatload of chronic issues. Some have been linked in the past to cancers. They've been linked to neurological conditions. They've been linked to just chronic after chronic after chronic. These are chemicals that we put in our bodies regularly. These are also found in our toothpaste. They're found in our mouthwash. They're found in our floss. So even if you try to avoid them and then you go home and look at the toothpaste you have on your shelf, you probably have, if you're not using a natural good toothpaste, you probably are putting artificial sweeteners in your mouth every day, and they absorb right in the capillaries under your tongue, which means that you're getting it right in your bloodstream. So it's a chemical toxin you are putting in your body that is linked to a lot of chronic issues. And again, the more chemical stress you put in the body, the more inflammation in your body. Other chemical stressors that we put in our body every day, just not even kidding when I say the average person puts over 100 chemicals on their body, not just the ones you're putting in your body. I'm talking on your body every single day. The average number of chemicals in your shampoo is 15. The average number of chemicals in your eyeshadow is 26. Lipstick is 33. Body lotion is 32. Blush is 15. Deodorant is 15. You do the math yourself. You're putting on 5 different types of makeup. You're putting on body lotion. You're putting on all these things. Go look at those ingredients. Go read the amount of terms that you don't know what they are. And they mislead you on these labels. On these labels, they're like, oh, it's 98% natural. And remember, beaver butt is in your food. Natural does not mean good. It just means that it comes from a natural source. Deodorant is another perfect example. Like I said, average amount of chemicals in deodorant is 15. But the main thing that's in antiperspirant deodorant is aluminum. And aluminum has direct links. There's been study after study showing direct links of aluminum to cancer. Very common, breast cancer. One of the most common cancers in females out there, breast cancer. And where's the most common spot women get breast cancer? It's right next to their armpits. And now imagine if you're putting an agent like aluminum in your deodorant next to your in your armpits every day, and the most common place for breast cancer is right next to your armpits. It's not a coincidence. And of course, now they have all these fancy stuff out there. They've got extra strength 72-hour deodorants out there. All that means usually more aluminum. It's not, this is serious. This is scary. I hate to be so scary sometimes, but this is the truth. You've got to read your labels. You have to know not just what you put in your body by mouth, you have to know what you put on your body because they're just as toxic. And the third stress, and probably the most likely one you could avoid if you tried, but still not easy, emotional stress. Politics is a big one. There's actually something out there called election stress disorder. I was actually interviewed, and I did an article once that was published a couple of years ago called election stress disorder. This is a real term that people, when they get up to the election, all they see, every ad, everything, it puts them into a stress. And then the election happens, they're like, oh, good, I don't have to see the ads anymore. But then they're either happy or not happy with the results, so that brings on stress too. And it instantly is a constant anxiety we deal with all of the time. Another big one, social media. How many people out there, and again, I can't see if you're telling me, most people don't tell themselves the truth when they think about it, but how many people out there are glued to their phone all day long because of social media? This is a major stressor. Think about it. If you wake up first thing in the morning, the first thing you do is grab your phone to check your Facebook status or check your Twitter page to see what celebrity said something stupid and the response to it, there's a problem with that. You are putting stress in your body that you don't have to do. That like button they put on social media is by far the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, we really care, truthfully, do you really care how many people like the smoothie you made last night? Do you really care how many people liked the cupcakes you baked? It's amazing how much of our lives are surrounded by social media at this point, but yet it brings a stressor to our body, because what happens if, oh my God, I requested a friendship from somebody 2 days ago and that person didn't say yes? Does he not like me? Does she not like me? Something's wrong. And you know how many people out there do this on a day-to-day basis. Oh my God, I posted this picture of my family and this person didn't like it. Do they not like my family? Is my family ugly? Oh, they're just jealous. This is stuff we go about on a day-to-day basis, and it absolutely affects how we live. That stress, that rides our cortisol, our stress hormone, through the roof and creates so much inflammation. I'm not saying ditch social media. I did, and you know what? It was liberating. But I'm not saying ditch that. But if it's controlling aspects of your life, it's too much stress in your body. You need to set limits for yourself, and it can make a world of difference. And another emotional stress that we deal with on a very regular basis, and this is one I am as guilty as anybody with: sports. Holy crap. Between rituals you do before games, between all of the crazy shenanigans, who's allowed in your house during a game, if you let people at your house, what are they allowed to do in your house because of you don't want to jinx the team even though you're not even on the field. I mean, I've been a Cardinal fan since the 80s. I've been going to games. My family's been going to the games. I'm actually saying the truth. I remember the Cardinals pre-Kurt Warner. I remember the Cardinals pre-Larry Centers. And most people that are Cardinal fans don't remember anything before Kurt Warner. They certainly don't remember Larry Centers' days. He was the original Larry chant. I mean, the amount of stress the Cardinals have given me over the years, I could have called CPS on my father. I mean, it's downright. And now what they're dealing with now, we have a coach who doesn't know how to coach. We have a GM who doesn't know how to draft. We're in trouble here. And it's not getting better until we get rid of the coach and get rid of the GM so we can hire the next one that doesn't know how to coach and the next one that doesn't know how to draft. And so we can continue this just consistent pattern that we deal with. But emotional stress is so vital in sports that we let it dictate what we do. And if we do allow it to, I mean, I'm guilty of this. I used to, if the Cardinals would lose on Sunday, I didn't want to talk to somebody till Wednesday. I was pissed. Even if they were playing a team that was favored by 2 touchdowns, I still said, oh, we should have still won that game. It doesn't happen. But again, these stressors affect our body. If we can learn to control how much we let it affect us, if we learn to manage how these stressors affect our body, we limit ourselves and realize that your life can go on even if your team loses. You're going to live a healthier life with a lot less inflammation, a lot less chronic disease. We're talking about habits and how they affect pain. So one of the things we talked a little bit about the stressors and stress hormone, but now we want to get into a little more about the food. Think about food. We talked about it when it comes to ingredients, and we talked about it earlier with you want to know what terms are right. Is organic, gluten-free, natural flavors? But think about this from a standpoint of food. From the dictionary itself, the purpose of food is to be eaten to sustain life, provide energy, and promote growth and repair of tissues. Okay? It needs all 3 of those in order to be real food. So processed food, does it sustain life? Well, you have to eat, so yes, it can sustain life. Does it give energy? Well, I mean, sugar, processed junk will break down and give you some energy. It's not always the best quality energy, but yes, it can provide energy. But does it promote growth and repair of tissues? That's where processed food fails. It does not promote the growth and repair of tissues at all. It breaks it down. That's the main reason why it's not real food. That's where you need your fruits, veggies, lean meats, the healthy foods. Yes, you want to get them organic because, again, it's still better than that. But organic processed food is still junk food. But an organic fruit is still a lot less chemical driven than the non-organic. So generally, when it comes to the diets, what are the healthiest diets out there? Fruits, veggies, lean meats. If you've never done a food test, we talk about the food test pretty regularly on this show because you can actually measure which foods create inflammation in your body. If you've never done that, it's a really amazing test to let you know how your body is functioning. But if you're not doing that, what diets do people do out there? One of those famous ones is the keto diet. Now, the keto diet is kind of a funny diet because people do it to lose weight. It does work. It does help them lose weight. But the true keto diet, because keto diet is a high-fat, low-carb diet. Now, the reason why Americans love this diet is because high-fat foods, some of them are some of their favorite foods. Cheese, burgers, bacon. God, the amount of times I've heard a keto patient tell me how much they love bacon. I almost think they have like a pig pen in their loft or in their attic, and they're just slaughtering them in their house and eating that much bacon, because I don't know if you can even buy that much bacon in a store the way they talk about it. But they love this diet because of the amount of fats they can eat. But true healthy keto diet is high fat, where you're doing the good healthy oils, the nuts, the seeds, the good quality fats, avocados, coconut. That's the stuff people can eat to where they're not actually creating inflammation in their body. You will lose the weight doing the keto either way. But I've ran the blood work on a lot of people that did keto that ate the bacon and the cheese and the burgers all day long, and their inflammatory markers in their heart went up, their cholesterol went up, all of these markers for inflammation went up in them, but they lost a bunch of weight. So again, they got their goal, but from a long-term longevity standpoint of feeling healthy and being healthy, they didn't do the best thing. So again, keto is an awesome diet, but it's the way you do it and what you eat on that keto diet makes all the difference in the world. The other famous one, of course, is just the straight low-carb diet. You see this with like Atkins. You see this with a lot of different products out there, where if you actually follow the low-carb diet, they can be very helpful, especially for losing weight, and they can actually decrease a lot of inflammation. I've had people do low-carb diets where they got rid of their diabetes, got rid of their heart disease. It's really a very effective diet. However, if you start going to these diet plans where they're like, you can eat cookies because they're low carb. You can eat cake because they're low carb. You can eat pastas. We have low carb pastas. They give you all of these foods that are low carb. When you actually read the ingredients of those foods, yeah, there's no added sugar in there to keep it low carb, but they put all those artificial processed junk in them. So you're not actually eating a true healthy diet. You're eating a low carb diet with a bunch of inflammatory artificial sweeteners. You don't believe me? Go read the labels. They all have sucralose or aspartame or saccharin. I mean, it's really important to understand, again, diets oftentimes can be very effective if they're done correctly. But you still always want to control what you can control. Read the ingredients, read the labels, because that's how you minimize the amount of inflammation you put in your body. And another one I love when people talk about this one is the calorie counting diet. Let's go on a real restricted diet, lose some weight, and see what happens. Well, and that can be effective at losing weight. Of course, you're restricting your body from calories. The problem with it is when people go calorie counting and they decrease their calories to nothing, if they're not getting enough nutrients in their body's going to burn muscle before it burns fat. So you lose weight, but you're actually losing muscle mass and your fat is still there. And that's when you get all of that excess stretchiness we see on our arms, where we look at that jello feeling where you're like, God, I got all this excess under my arm. I got it under my chin. I got it on my leg. I got it on my stomach. This is what happens when you lose a lot of weight, but haven't done a proper way to lose it. And you get that feeling, you get that look. And again, another thing I always tell people with calorie counting, okay, so Which is healthier, eating 2,000 healthy calories every day or eating 1,000 calories every day full of garbage? I mean, the healthy is going to be better every single time. So that right there kind of negates the idea of calorie counting, because most of the time when people go calorie counting, they become nutrient restricted as well, which then does not help them when it comes to inflammation. So we've said many times before, what are the most inflammatory foods? Sugar, artificial, the dairy, the gluten. We've talked about that every single time. And those processed foods, as I was saying earlier, they're very, very, very inflammatory. But again, you can test those things and actually see what's going on in our bodies to see how much inflammation when you eat does it form. But another thing that I get asked a lot is, can you supplement nutrition? Another habit we do that is not correct. We see patient after patient going, I feel like crap, but I'm on a bunch of supplements, so I'm getting enough nutrition. The answer is you can't supplement yourself to health. Supplements, think about it. Supplement, what's the root word in supplement? It supplements your diet and lifestyle. If you're listening out there, think about how many people you've heard say this, if not you yourself. I can eat this junk food, but I worked out earlier in the day, so that makes it okay. I burned 200 calories at the gym, so when I eat this Reese's peanut butter cup, I'm okay because I already burned those calories. Or they eat horribly and then they go to the gym and make sure they burn off every single calorie they just ate. Very common pattern people do. And again, this is not healthy. You can't supplement yourself. You can't diet restrict yourself. You can't exercise yourself to health if you're not doing all three parts. You have to eat clean. And doing that, you have to know what you're eating and how it's reacting in your body. You have to be careful of the chemicals you put on your body. You have to exercise regularly. You've got to keep your muscles strong, your tendons, your ligaments strong. You got to keep those juices in your joints flowing or they just get stiff. And you have to be able to control what you could control. Supplements are amazing. We talk about supplements every single week on this show. But if you're not eating clean, the supplements aren't going to help you long term. If you're not exercising, you're not going to be able to feel your best and be stronger. You're going to start having major issues in your joints and ligaments as you age. You've got to eat clean. You've got to be careful of the chemicals you put on your body. You've got to pay attention to everything because the food industry, the ingredient industry, the chemical industry, the makeup industry, all they care about is the dollar. They do not care about your health. All they care about is themselves. And you have to be your own advocate for health. And if you're not sure how to do that, that's where naturopathic doctors kick in. That's what we do best. You've really got to understand that industry out there, that the world out there is not friendly to the consumer. You've got to take care of yourself. So thank you for joining me today on Your Health is Wealth. We're here to help you take charge of your own health, increase your quality of life, and support your natural healing processes. I'm Dr. Stephen Katz, and join us next week for Your Health is Wealth.
Thanks for listening to Your Health is Wealth. Be sure to tune in next week to learn more wisdom on how to live a fuller, richer life. If you have questions about today's show or would like to find out more about the topics we discussed today, call the Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161.